Hi, this is Heather from KDoozy, and we're going to talk about how to get to some kind of solution or decision that works for everyone. And this is a method used by Mickey Cashton. It's her idea, and it's called convergent facilitation. And so it's how do we get to a place where after a decision is made, we have the buy-in of everybody, where no one is undermining it because they didn't feel like they had a say in the decision. No one's trying to undermine it because their concerns weren't heard. So this is a way to listen to one another and find out what's important to each person and come to a decision that everyone is willing to go along with. So we're going to do this in parts. And so this will be a playlist of videos. And in this one, we're going to talk about the criteria. So this first step is getting the criteria. The second step is looking for proposals. And the third step is making the decision. So in this video, we're just going to look at the criteria. Okay, so basically, you get all these people in the room together, and you want people in the room who are affected by the decision. You want the people who will be on the front lines delivering the decision. So for example, if it's work related and you offer services to people in the community, the people who are actually communicating with the people in the community, the frontline workers, you want them in the room. You want the people with power to not let the decision go forward. So you'd want the director, the CEO, the boss, you want them there as well. You would want users of the service. If you're making a decision about where to go on holiday, you would want everyone involved in that, who's going to be taking the holiday, to be involved in it, so that you get all their best thinking and you find out what's important to them. So you are gathering these people together. So everyone's in the room who needs to be in the room. And first, we want to listen. We want to hear each person say what's important to them about this decision. So if it was the family holiday, you would say, what is important to you? And it could be that I want to be able to go swimming. I want to be able to go into cafes, etc. So without prioritizing anyone who's in the room, you're going to ask each person to say what they would want to see on the list of criteria for this holiday or for this decision, or you're going to reorganize the office. And so what is important to people, that there's space for a coffee machine, etc. And you're going to put these things on one big piece of paper without actually saying, who said it. But before you put them on the paper, you're going to look for something called the non-controversial essence. And this means as a facilitator, you reword what they've said is important to them in such a way that everyone in the room agrees with this criteria. So, being able to go swimming, maybe that's not important to everyone. You could say, so it's important that everyone has the opportunity to do physical activity that they like to do. You might word it like that. Or you might say, everyone has access to refreshments easily in the office, because maybe there's not a coffee drinker, there's someone who doesn't drink coffee, and so having a coffee machine isn't that important to them. So you want to reword it in such a way that everyone in the room says, yeah, I agree. Now, this could be when the person says, I want to be able to go swimming. You could check and see, is that okay? Can we make sure that wherever we go, there's a pool or a beach? And it might be that even people who don't want to swim, yeah, that's not controversial to me. I really do want you to be able to swim. Like, I don't want to go to a place where you can't swim because it's important to me that you. So in that sense, you wouldn't have to change it and bring it back to something that each person, a physical activity that each person wants to do. You might not have to take that far. So you check, swimming, a coffee maker. Everyone might go, yeah, coffee maker. Even the person who doesn't drink coffee, you could say, yeah, coffee maker. There's got to be a space for refreshments. Something like that. But if it's something controversial and some people are like, no, I don't think we need to have that criteria, then that's when you reword it into something that is kind of a more common denominator of what's important to everybody. Like I say, being able to do physical activity, being able to relax, having quiet, again, it might be that some people are like, I don't want to be in a place that's just quiet. Like, I don't want just a peaceful place, but I'm willing to be in a place that has that option. And so you just find what that common denominator is. Another example could be if we look at something very controversial like Brexit. And if we had people in the room and we're trying to decide what to do about the EU and come to a solution that works for everyone, someone might say that they don't like the idea of the European Union having an army. And so then you'd say to that person, what about that don't you like? And it could be that you say that when it comes to decisions that are life or death, we want to be able to locally make those decisions. And that might not be controversial. So you want to bring it down to a more universal value, not necessarily so far that I want peace, I want freedom. Don't take it that far. Just go one next layer down until you get to something that everyone can agree with. So you're going to have on this list criteria that everyone's agreed to. And there's no hierarchy in it. It's not the boss said this and the person working the till, the cash register said this. It's not like that. It's all mixed in. You go around the room until everybody's been heard and has listed everything. And people might, obviously come up with new criteria as they hear other people list criteria, and you want to have lots of time for this. Take the time to do this, because the more time you put into getting the criteria right, the less likely you're going to have to add more later, clean up any messes that are created by not having everything listed here, not having everything that's important to people listed. So lastly, to think about in this step, and I'm just rushing through this, Mickey Cashton has a lot of resources on the web. There's a free book called The Common Denominator, or the most common denominator, or something like that. I'll check that and put that in the description. There's YouTube videos, etc. So you can take trainings that go into this over many weeks. This is just a taster of what we're talking about here. Because if you've been going along with these videos all along, the idea is we want to get to the point where we can take care of one another and keep each other as safe as possible. And that means we need to figure out how to deal with conflict and avoid conflict. And this method of facilitation is a way to avoid conflict, because it's a way of listening to everybody, showing that each person is heard, each person feeling heard, because everyone heard what they said and then agreed to put that on the list, which then means there's going to be more buy-in later. So it's very important. Now, in terms of power, if you're the facilitator of this process and you have a stake in the process, it might be that then you have more power. You could say, okay, we've heard enough. We're not going to hear anymore what's important to people. You would have the power to do that. And so you need to mitigate for that. And so it's even more important that you don't kind of showcase your own things too early, because that can influence people. You might listen to everyone else first, put all the criteria up, and then offer yours. Same with the boss. If the boss is in the room, you'd want to make sure that it's super clear that what's important to them is equal to what's important to everyone else. And so you might reiterate that. There could be people in the room who are systemically marginalized. And so there are people that don't speak up very much. So you want to take extra care with them to make sure that they feel like they can share their thinking and what's important to them. You will be demonstrating with the first people who have spoken their criteria. You'll be demonstrating that you're a good listener and that you're looking for a way to make it so that everyone agrees with that criteria. That should create some safety for those people who don't feel confident about speaking up in that situation. However, it could be that that's not good enough. So you could speak to people ahead of time, getting their thinking ahead of time. You could share their thinking for them, etc. This isn't like a rigid methodology, but these are the things that we want to keep in mind, that we need their perspective. We don't want anyone to feel that they can't share what's important to them. Otherwise, we will run into problems later. We'll miss things, or we won't get the buy-in. So if you keep this in mind, that that's the goal, then when you're looking for power issues, then you will just have to be creative and figure out how to meet those. Now, Mickey Cashton, the work that she does, there's a group of people that do coaching, and they get together every week or two, and they give examples and they look for advice, etc. So this is community work that we can do. And we can do this in our own Facebook group as well. In the description, you'll see links to how to join the Facebook group. And that's the Kate Doozy Facebook group. And each of these video themes has a guide in the group, and people can discuss what the theme was. So for this one, we could be having these conversations ourselves, or you could go out to convergent facilitation resources and groups that have been developed by Mickey Cashton. Either one's cool, but this is such a great methodology that I hope you will take it quite seriously and look into it. Okay, let's stop there for this video. And in the next one, we'll do step 2, which is the proposals.